Special assignment this morning. While much of the recent attention surrounding sexual misconduct has been directed at celebrities and powerful people, victims of sexual abuse can also be found behind the walls of the Montana Women's Prison. This morning, KTVQ's Asia Gore is on special assignment to bring us their stories and show us why their abusers remain free.
I had gone through a divorce that was very messy, and I turned to drugs and alcohol.
When Chanda Klein was convicted of forgery and drug possession in 1999, she knew she would pay for her crimes with her freedom. She did not expect to pay with her body.
He had me upstairs above the gym in the boiler room when I just didn't want it. He grabbed my boobs and was pulling on them hard. And then he wanted to get into my pants, and I was saying no, and he was pulling them down, and I was pulling them back up.
As Klein later told investigators, the guard raped her and then intimidated her for months to keep her quiet. Her abuser was fired from the prison in 2013 for workplace misconduct, but he's never been criminally charged.
It's bad enough that you have to go and you feel guilty and horrible and small to begin with, but to have someone stomp on you in that condition and to be left hopeless somewhere was the worst feeling I ever had.
Klein is not the only woman to suffer sexual assault behind bars. Documents filed with the Montana Public Safety Officer Standards and Training Department detail allegations against 4 detention officers in as many years. Officer John Goodnight surrendered his certificate in 2016 after he allegedly exchanged romantic letters with an inmate. Officer Michael Mansfield fired in 2016 after 14 years at the prison. An investigation revealed evidence of sexual harassment against inmates and female staff. He allegedly offered a $100 finder's fee to any staff or inmate who could find him a girlfriend. Gallatin County marriage records show Mansfield married a parolee who returned to prison under his watch. Officer Manuel Zuniga lost his certificate in 2017 after 12 years on the job. According to documents, Zuniga had sexual contact with inmates, provided favorite inmates with contraband like lotion, shoes, and lingerie, and intimidated witnesses. After Zuniga was fired from the prison, he went on to serve on the Canyon Creek School Board. Officer John Koenig lost his certificate after alleged sexual contact with a parolee, along with favoring and flirting with other inmates. And the Department of Correction confirms employment of a staff member named Norman Ritchie was terminated in 2002, 1 year after he was hired. Marriage records in Yellowstone County show he too married an inmate while she was locked up. The Montana Department of Corrections declined to comment on any of these recent cases, saying they still could result in criminal charges. But Yellowstone County Attorney Scott Twito tells me his office hasn't received any criminal complaints against staff at the women's prison in at least 5 years. Garrity rights protect officers who disclose information about a fireable offense from criminal prosecution, but it does not protect them from civil action like revocation of a law enforcement certificate.
I think it's one of the most serious things that could happen to a public safety officer.
Perry Johnson's office not only certifies officers to work in Montana, but also investigates allegations of misconduct.
Currently, I can tell you that we have 70 open allegations that we're looking at.
His office has just one investigator for the entire state who reviews evidence and conducts interviews with the officer and his or her accusers.
There's no secrets. We're not hiding the ball from anybody. The bottom line is it's got to be fair for everybody that's involved.
If Johnson's office revokes the officer's certificate, that officer can no longer work in Montana. But Johnson says that's only been the case since 2014, and the code passed that year is not retroactive.
So if you were revoked as a public safety communicator, you could be a detention officer.
Marilyn Hamill, a retired guard at MWP, recalls several instances of sexual misconduct.
He did a lot more than he should have. And the girls used to make comments about, well, he's not happy at home. And I go, that's his problem, not yours.
Hamill believes inmates sometimes initiated sexual relationships with staff.
It's kind of like a 16-year-old. Legally, they cannot give consent to have sex. So 16-year-olds and younger can't give consent either. Inmates are the same.
Jenny Hansen, the newly hired warden, says the prison is committed to following all 52 standards of the Prison Rape Elimination Act.
We're the first facility in the state of Montana that has passed 2 pre-audits.
The most recently released audit from 2016 shows the prison did pass that exam, but a closer look reveals it was incompliant with at least 7 standards. One incompliant standard is protection against retaliation for inmates and staff who report sexual misconduct, an issue that Klein says kept her quiet until her release.
It was just something I had to do to survive.
Hansen believes the recent addition of a caseworker focused on sexual misconduct allegations will further her goal of safety for inmates.
They're people first. They're human beings first, and they deserve to have their needs met, be protected, feel like this is a safe, secure place to deal with whatever issues they might have been having that got them here.
Klein may be a free woman today, but she says the abuse she experienced behind bars is a life sentence. Asia Gore, MTN News, Billings.
Klein, along with several other women, have filed lawsuits against officers and the Department of Corrections. But as Asia tells us, often the terms of any settlement includes a non-disclosure agreement, which explains why we never hear about most of these cases.